how much can they draw from this tournament into next year is going to be the big one.
I mean, Origin's my favorite for this tournament at this point, especially after seeing how TSM played. Yes, we saw some good individual performances, but their shot calling's still kind of a wreck.
They want a first pick game plank. The Ribbon Band, like, it just screams it. They're aiming for the first pick game plank right here.
Soaz was one of the first to really like prove himself as a good Gangplank player in the finals over in Europe.
He was great
against Fnatic, and that was actually the first losses that Fnatic had in the entire summer split at the hand of that Gangplank. So definitely good Gangplank player. I'm not quite sure if Power of Evil plays it well, so it may just be very slanted towards the top lane instead of being in flex.
Well, there's a lot of stuff up right now. There's Kindred, there's Tom Kent, there's Gangplank. There's a lot of stuff available right now, so I'm actually curious what the last two bans are going to be with this.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Of course, the Callista ban against Niels, pretty common. Not letting him get that champion. We saw that a lot over in Europe and even at the World Championship. People really identifying Niels' performance on that champion as a major threat.
Yeah, and when he wasn't on Callista, he could still do the same hyper carry style if he had a Lulu supporting him. So I think it's good. I like these bans from TSM here. Origin definitely coming in with some prep. Lost banning to Tom Kench. Don't want to ban that too early, so you put some pressure on TSM. Like, now they have to adapt on the fly and hopefully leave Gangplank open.
I hope TSM. Yes, Kindred.
Yeah, they did catch on their GP. That means Kindred is open finally this weekend.
This is the first game that Kindred will be available for play. And for those of you who didn't watch the Kespa Cup on 521, Kindred was banned or picked nearly every game. Very powerful champion, especially because of how it can change. Wow, that would be very bold to take that Elise first for Amazing instead of leave that Kindred up.
I bet what happened is Kindred was banned in almost every single scrim for them, so they never got to practice it. So now they're sitting like,
I mean, Elise is still pretty strong. It's not like Kindred is just going to break open the game. She has to snowball a little bit at least.
And then Sven, you know, the Nidalee, I mean, we discussed it yesterday too, Nidalee and Kindred, both probably something you would look forward to on the side of Svenskeren. See if he ends up going for that one.
I actually think that's not that bad of a matchup, Kindred versus Elise, because you can pretty much hit the Elise with a cocoon, or the Elise can cocoon the Kindred, and you can just one-shot her before she can get her ultimate off. So.
No, if you connect cocoon, she's in a very dire spot, because if you then get close enough, you still have repel to chase if she tries to get away from you.
Yep.
Okay. Now, what else? I mean, we've banned out towards the end of the bans the high priorities here.
I mean,
Rise
is open. We're looking at two very talented Thresh players overall, but generally they leave the Thresh open and just pick the Alistar. I think both sides are fine with either matchup.
And there you go, the Alistar comes through, and the Kindred does get locked in. Crowd cheering. Finally going to see some Kindred play this weekend.
So what's so interesting about Kindred as a champion? Not only is she very strong, but it allows you a certain flexibility with team compositions that you might not have otherwise, because at this point you can go for a more tanky. There aren't that many high damage junglers in the late game right now, so you can play tanks in the top lane more effectively, even in this more carry top meta. And you can mix it up with more AP coming out of your lanes, even playing Corki or something like that to supplement. So you really can make very interesting team comps around Kindred.
And the Alistar helps that as well, because you have a tanky support. You don't really want to pick like a Thresh here, because then you have two characters that kind of stand on the back line waiting for stuff to happen, then to follow up. But Alistar, he can at least move in, soak some damage, create some space for this Kindred to work in. And then obviously, you know, Alistar ulti being so tanky, Kindred ulti following up later on, you have some really annoying game mechanics to really just try and tilt your opponents.
You can also headbutt people out of the Kindred ult.
So it's a good counter pick.
Yeah, so basically, if you want to get only your team healed in the Kindred ult, you can use that headbutt to move the rest of the team or one player out of that ultimate, so only your players get the heal. So you really, displacement is very key with Kindred to make the most out of the ult.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, they also one of the problems with Kindred though is, I mean, she's just strict physical damage, not a tank. So you actually need to really go heavy on the AP damage. You would need like a Victor or something, or an Azir, like a real AP threat in the mid lane. So that kind of constricts that.
Well, Lissandra's up too, so if you have something like a top Lissandra, you can go for more AP, Lissandra, Rumble, and top as well. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but one of the reasons why Kindred is so good is because you have all of these other options with your craft all of a sudden. So she really changes the way you play around your champ select.
Really like the Orianna pick too. It just gives you another way of engaging and disengaging in case you try to dive in on your ADCs, and it's just such a good pick here.
Orianna is like sort of like protect the AD carry type of champion. Obviously, Lulu will do better, and you now have two AD carries that you can choose to protect. For, you know, if you lose one, you know, you have another one to put in, and now you can go both directions here. You can go for a tanky top laner to create some space in some zone. You have enough damage on those three double AD carry and one AP carry already, or you can just full out and go quadruple threat with an Alistar and try and snowball.
Yeah, you very well could. And Origin trying to figure out how to get away from that.
The blind pick Rumble.
Ooh.
Okay. I hope TSM picks Olaf into that and just wrecks him.
And the Cassiopeia.
That actually might be one of the reasons why they banned Riven as well. That's a really hard matchup for Rumble.
Yep.
And now really their only option here is an Olaf, and their only real AP damage is the Orianna. So, but I mean, Olaf does a lot of true damage as well.
Yeah, but still, you're waiting for Ori to get 3 items before she really actually starts to take off. So early game team fighting may be an issue here for TSM if they go for that Olaf in the top side.
I mean, double AP with a strong jungle and Tristana. This is a very, very heavy mid-game spike here for Origin. Like, if they get a tiny bit of a lead and can start playing around objectives, it's going to be pretty rough for TSM to play from behind.
You mean something like a level 3 gank?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to imagine playing Rumble against Olaf Kindred.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
you don't get away.
I don't think that the death score goes up that high. I mean, it's going to be brutal. Please pick Olaf. Come on, you can do it, huh?
Soaz is smart at getting away from these situations sometimes, though. Like, he has these games where he just, like, tilts to the sky and just, like, goes 0-6. But generally, he has a good game sense, and he's played under pressure before, so he doesn't really... He gets creative. Like, if he gets behind 1 or twice, like, he just actually goes to the bottom lane and starts roaming. And Rumble with ulti can actually start forcing down these towers.
So, I mean, Hunter had a good performance on Renekton yesterday, for sure. You can't deny that. How does it really fit in? It doesn't seem to really excel anything for the rest of the composition. It's just more of a safer pick overall.
Well, they already have a lot of late game scaling with the Kindred, the Orianna, the Jinx. They just want kind of like a buffer to CC people as they come into that.
Yep.
But I still think if they had an Olaf, they could just straight up win the game off just running over top lane over and over again. So, but I still think it's fine. Like, Renekton's going to be able to pressure the Rumble. If he pushes out at all, he's just going to get tore up.
I just like a champion pick that can actually do targeted hard CC.
Yep.
If you're playing Olaf, you have an axe, you're slowed, so you know everybody's going to pile on that target, but then they flash away and suddenly the whole team fight shifts and you find yourself overextending against a Rumble and a Cassio.
Yeah.
Whereas if Renekton goes in, you can leave some space between you and Renekton, let him stun somebody, and then Alistar can follow up, and in that frame, you can actually one-shot a carry. Because you have the damage. So in that sense, I like some targeted hard CC. It's so hard to play compositions with all these soft CCs like slows and snare, and it just not snares because snares are hard.
Right.
Yeah. Like you guys said, this mid game is going to be tough, especially the 280 carry thing against a Rumble. You have so much backline threat with a Rumble at all times, especially playing around the 15 to 20 minute mark. So, and a lot of Kindred depends on how fast you can stack your passive and getting lucky a little bit on those marks.
All right, well, the game is ready, ladies and gentlemen. See if TSM can continue their success from day one, or if Origin is going to prove that they are indeed the favorites here. With our commentators over at the desk, it is D-Man, Freak, and Siva.
Thank you very much, Cho Bros. And we are live almost into the semifinals because I can see it just paused on these screens down here. So we're almost there, but it gives us a great amount of time to talk about these pick and bans and talk about Kindred. You cast a lot of Kindred over in Kesper.
100% pick
Give us the
ban rate.
rundown, man.
Only team to beat Kindred in 2 games was SK Telecom. Very powerful pick. We haven't really seen her reach her full potential yet. We saw a lot of people kind of figuring her out, but once again, it's going to be banned in most scrims on this patch. It's going to be banned in solo queue consistently on that patch as well. So I don't think anyone has a lot of experience playing, and we're going to have to see if Sven Skaren, who, known for Nidalee, known for more aggressive carry-oriented style junglers, can really show us like the full mechanical ceiling that Kindred has to offer.
Right, and it was kind of good to see kind of right away, both teams, I think, picked well around the Kindred. We heard the analysts talk about it. The Alistar coming in straight away. Of course, the headbutt synergy in terms of kicking people out of the ultimate so that you can kill your opponents off. Tristana 80 carry the exact same way. It even synergizes super well with the explosive charge because you can prime it, do all your damage, then jettison them out. Along with anyone else nearby, they all get exploded. There's a lot of enemy synergy there as well. And then also the fact that Hanser, I actually like what he did entirely. He went not only for a good laning matchup in Renekton against Rumble, but also picked a tank because they needed a second one. They've also got a supportive mid laner, so the fact they've got 2 marksmen in the back line, every other single champion synergizes with that kind of composition.
Now, yesterday, obviously, we talked a lot about TSM. We saw how they delivered. Hanser played great, even ended up with a crazy solo kill as well. But let's talk about Origin. Power of Evil coming in here. Obviously, great mid laner, no doubt about his talent. He is clearly, I would say, easily on par with Peke.
Yeah.
The question is, are the team going to listen to his voice the same as they would with Peke? Now, Peke obviously stood behind them as well.
I mean, the thing is, I don't know the Origin team dynamic very well, right? I didn't cast them throughout the entire year. I haven't sat behind them and watched them scrim or anything, so I don't know very well the entire team dynamic, and it's new. Not to the same level of TSM, but there's going to be, I'm sure, some growing pains here, but I trust it'll end up doing pretty well. My understanding of Origin is that it's Mithy and Soazico doing a lot of the talking here. So I think Power People can plug and play pretty easily.
Plug and play, I like that.
It kind of fits within the theme of the tournament overall, though, which is answering these questions, right?
Yeah.
Figuring out how these teams are going to work, figuring out how these teams are going to adapt to new players. And while we've seen what TSM can do with their roster and their lineup, Power of Evil is still a question. Now, the other question that I had for him, was he going to play some more interesting or controversial picks? Now, once again, this is still a relatively young patch in terms of competitive play, so Cassiopeia could be very powerful. We haven't seen it yet. Or it could be one of those more oddball Power of Evil picks.
Now, it is something that Power is very good at, and actually I had said during Champs like over here, like, oh, they're going to play Yorick top, because back in Unicorns of Love, well, I'd forgotten that it wasn't UOL. Because there was an O in the name and I saw Power
but it's
Evil.
Soaz.
Right.
Soaz has got a lot of history on Yorick. Or Yorick,
including losing to America at the Season 3 World Championship playing. I remember that game still. It was great against Vulcan. But no, Power is actually a very good Cassiopeia player. And I know like she received some nerfs. The mana cost and sustain on her E being one of the bigger ones. I think, sorry, the mana return and the sustain on her E being a big one. But he's very good at this champion. Thinking about the matchup, the range is actually very close between her and Orianna. Now, she's slow, so you can't dodge away from shockwaves, but basically if Orianna can hit you, so can Cassiopeia. And in any 4-second long trade, Cassiopeia does way more damage in those. So if the jungle can come in and tilt the matchup, of course, it changes a whole lot. But it's going to be interesting, and it is a ton of damage coming into that mid lane.
And the other thing I want to talk about with Cassio overall is that she provides similar dive threat that you would see from a Ryze or Lissandra. A little bit mitigated, obviously, because Miasma is just not as good of a zoning tool as the Rune Prison or the potential for a Frozen Tomb engage. But the threat of the Petrifying Gaze at any moment when you're standing under tower does make it very easy for them to make full use of this Tristana to pressure down early towers, especially when they have such a strong team in the early to mid game.
Yeah, she's actually very disengage heavy. Like, in terms of sort of threat, it's like going in on a Cassiopeia is super threatening. And honestly, this whole team has a ton of, if you walk at us, our AoE is ridiculous. Walking into an Equalizer, walking into Petrifying Gaze, walking into Braum Ultimate as well. Origin's ability to disengage and just set up Niels to siege is actually very strong. Okay, there's damage everywhere, so Soaz and Power can both carry, but they're offensive threats that make you too afraid to kill Niels. And so in a way, this team can still play around this AD carry who's, you know, won the All-Star vote. He's like maybe even the #1 AD carry in all of Europe. And this is, you know, I like this comp. I like high damage comps. And I mean, everyone's kind of protected by the threat of everyone else.
It's also very interesting the way that these teams have built themselves. You talk about Origin being able to peel back, being very strong when they're being approached, and the same is very true of TSM. They have the zone control of the Lamb's Respite, additionally the Wolf's Frenzy coming in for Kindred, and having this kind of, once again, sort of double lift focused late game sort of team comp where you have this Alistair for disengage, you have this Orianna who provides excellent zone control. Now the thing I like about TSM's comp is that as we move further into the game, you have this Alistair-Orianna combo, which will provide a decent amount of hard gauge, and it's something we didn't really see from TSM yesterday.
It's true. It's a different sort of style, and if TSM can play a more aggressive team composition, it's, as I think about it and I try to break down their team comp and their goals here, like, Renekton is generally an early game sort of champion. We heard the NLSS talk about it, and I tend to agree. Kindred is best served in the, you know, first 25 minutes of the game, and it gets worse from there. But TSM were playing 45-minute long games. And I wonder if they're shooting themselves in the foot here if they can't close the game out. Does their champions all start to fall away when Cassio hits full build? Okay, Jinx will do fine, but a lot of this team comp's going to fall away.
Well, additionally, both in the compositions and the dynamic here, OG have been praised time and time again for mid to late game shot calling. It's been very consistent over the course of Worlds. And on the other side, TSM a very young lineup, and usually the thing that takes the most time to develop is confidence in late game shot calling. It's where so many teams, younger teams especially, have fumbled historically.
Yeah. I think it is a tough road ahead, especially considering that Origin just are very good. Now, when we did a bunch of analysis on Origin for the World Championship, and granted their opponents generally a bit stronger at Worlds than, you know, the 5-day-old TSM, but Origin's early game were really bad. Their side lanes died a lot. I think their like cumulative kill death in the first 15 minutes was like 6 and 20, something around that number. Their like ratio of getting first blooded was more than half. Like, early on, Origin did not do the best. They were pretty greedy. They'd sit out for farm. And Svenskeren has gotten first blood every single game by finding someone overextended. So there are definitely elements of this game that TSM, I think, can pick at.
And the Kindred and the Renekton are both so good at snowballing early on that I think that if they're given that opportunity, if they can find those early kills and those early stacks on Kindred's passive, it can just get out of control very quickly.
Yeah, and Hornser proved it yesterday. He got himself both first bloods, both games, with the help of Svenskeren. And clearly a partnership that has been working. Ladies and gentlemen, we just do have a small audio issue, which is pretty much resolved from what I've been told on the stage. So it does look like they are going to be unpausing any moment now. So TSM versus Origin. It is North America versus Europe, and everybody loves these battles, no doubt about it. But new look teams, from what we saw, face each other at the World Championships. Then, of course, it was a very close affair. And obviously, going back to Origin, you know, they did have very scrappy matches. The quarterfinals, especially, I remember seeing them at Wembley, was a bloody affair, no doubt about it. A lot of kills back and forward. We saw the same thing from TSM yesterday. I'm expecting a lot of kills. I hope it's going to be a great game. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. It is a best of 3 moving through to the finals, which will be a best of 5 played later today. Who will make it, Europe or North America?
Of course, as we see this game start up, just looks like a standard 5-point here. Both teams prioritizing defense of their own jungle. No one wanting to get too aggressive, and makes a lot of sense. They're playing against this Kindred, not going to be clear exactly what she wants to do with her early pathing. A lot of variance potential here, just because it's a champion we haven't seen yet. So defaulting to safety on both sides.
All right, well, first blood goes to TSM. 10 gold picked up for the Trinket Ward kill. Doublelift most gold of all AD carries now in this game. I think it's actually the highest amount of gold AD carries ever had this early on this tournament. So Doublelift record setter, USA. No. Because I have a very biased crowd here. I spent like a month and a half in Europe.
Pandering to the fans on the desk. Right. Pandering to the fans on the ward kill.
Right. It's like we had Quick Shot and Crepo and Deficio and like all these guys like, oh, I've got all these European fans and oh, we made top 4 and look how good Fnatic and Origin are. Well, America's undefeated here on home soil, so home crowd, let's go. That's right. Of course, D-Man's here to like ready to strangle me.
No, it's okay. You guys have got a team in the Counter-Strike as well in towards the semifinals. So well done.
Only took a substitute for the Russian.
It took four tries, but you got one in there eventually, and one of them was also Brazilian, so you still try and claim them as your own. But, and let's get into actually TSM, since we're talking about it. Wait, the jungler's European, the mid laner's European. Hold on. The support's European. Wait. Yeah, I'm seeing a bit of a pattern here.
Oh, let's not forget the fact that Origin won both games against TSM at Worlds. So, I mean, I'm aware of the fact that, like, all right, Origin are very clear favorites here.
So they figured out how do you get out of groups? You bring more Europeans in. It used to be Koreans, but now they've gone Europeans. We'll see how it works out for them. But here we go. Anyway, the match is underway. Mid lane, little poke possibly happening here. Miffy taking a little drive-by on Bjergsen. Doesn't look like he's going to do too much damage. But Soaz came as well. That's actually quite good damage. That's going to force him to choke a potion. But that was a 3-man initiative there in that mid lane. Putting a lot of resources to try and get a kill.
That could have been a bit closer too. I think Power People's E was currently on cooldown from last hitting because he landed the Q spot on and could have chained in a lot of damage. That did not end up happening. However, of course, a invade into the top side jungle. Oh, and it leashes back, so Mithy and Soaz not going to get... I think it's probably still theirs. No, it's a 3-on-3. If Tristana comes down, TSM, I believe, should have control over this.
Oh, Mithy's going to get caught out. Gets a bit too aggressive. There's the head, but how is he going to get out of that? Well, he's going to get the support of his team. Mithy manages to run away. Hornson taken very low. The Flame Sprinter comes in, and Soaz locks him down. Now the red buff also going to get picked up by Amazing. He tries to get on Kasing. It's a double for Soaz. In comes Niels. In comes Power of Evil, and Spenskeren gets locked up. Is he going to get out alive? Not at all. Power of Evil. There, ladies and gentlemen, is Europe starting off with 3 kills.
An absolutely dominant skirmish coming in for Origin there, setting the standard for European performances with that one. 3-0 right off the bat, and massive mistakes made on the touch side of TSM. Hanser, I believe, stunning the red buff in that exchange. A complete miss on the Ruthless Predator, really costing them so much, and OG just finding a huge early advantage.
Absolutely incredible stuff right there. And this is the big risk, of course, is it's the strong side of the map for Origin. And I realized that Kasing was there as well, which made it more of a 3-on-3. But Power of Evil had the push lead of the mid lane. He was there first. And the fact that it was easy for Niels to come down here. So complete control. And it's just going to be a very, very rough situation now for TSM, already very far behind.
Yeah, I mean, giving your top laner a double kill and an assist right at the start, you can see he's obviously going straight in towards the Zhonya's, but that's going to help him so much against Haunter. Like, when they actually become a one-on-one, which they're now finally clashing down that bottom lane, that's just Haunter going to have to sit and play passive for the rest of the, next 20 minutes.
it's going to be incredibly difficult. We can watch that fight again. It's a great setup. They jump in on a Mithy. Of course, he can jump back to his team. And then Hanser, yep, there it is. You called it right. Stuns the red buff. It's also going to be a missed smite from Svenskeren as well. He got it down to 509 and then spikes it to 23 health, which means amazing. Had the red buff, had the health regen that it provides. But right away, a fight in the bot lane. Soaz on the wrong side of this one.
Yeah, this is how you deal. And it's going to be a teleport away. Soaz, see ya. He's gone. And that's how you deal with it. You try and bully, you try and gang up on him. Svenskeren clearly going to try and get Hanser going, but teleport, he actually went the other side of the map, so as in the top half of the jungle right now. He went miles away from that one.
He's just found something he could click on. He's like, I'm just going to hit randomly and hopefully I get somewhere I need to be.
I think we saw, was it Zion Spartan yesterday, just TP to a random minion adjacent to him. He's like, it doesn't matter, anything but the minion next to me.
Whoops. Yeah. So, all right, better one there so far. Soaz confirmed better mechanics than Darshan. More EU greater than NA stuff to keep this game a little bit. Hey, shut up, Grad. It's true that time. I got to keep it balanced. Now I have to make fun of North America, you know? I'm not pulling a Stephen Colbert where I only make fun of Republicans. I gotta hit both sides of this one here.
Oh, pretty topical.
So
pretty
I'm so glad you're willing to be unbiased for us on this cast. I really appreciate the diversity that you bring in your smack talk.
I'm the Fox News of color commentators.
Well, I mean, you couldn't be because there's no LMS teams here, so it's harsh. But anyway, back to the game, ladies and gentlemen. It is a big advantage, big start for Origin here, and Power of Evil, of course, picking up one of those kills. That gave him that tier very early on against Bjergsen.
And the big thing about getting this tier early is that normally you suffer when you itemize the tier early because it does not give you any combat stats, but because he got it functionally off of that first kill or those early kills in the game, he got it for free. So he's really not losing out here. The difference between 1 and 2 Dorans is not massive at this stage in the game.
And Double, I think, is seeing there, taking a lot of abuse off the back of that early fight on, being forced back constantly. Amazing. Going a bit aggressive here. Svenskeren, I don't think he's going to let him stand for this one, but a cocoon to the face should slow him down, but he's got a long way to skitter away from this one. He's headed straight towards Bjergsen. He comes around. Bam! Headshot right there. Took him clean out.
That was the last attack right there of the
Mounting
Kindred
Dread.
E. Yeah, Mounting Dread. Thanks. I even play her a couple times, but just combined with the rest of the burst here. And of course, pretty much every jungler ever doesn't run Magic Resist Blues because they want the clear speed. So Amazing just takes so much magic damage early on in the jungle and everywhere else when he fights somebody. So good start for Svenskeren. And Svenskeren had, by the way, hunted Elise from the very start of the game. He figured that was the champion he's likely to kill. So finally, Svenskeren gets on the board with his second stack. I guess he got one earlier from a jungle camp.
Very good spot to be, of course, as they push further into the game. Only going to be able to mark jungle creeps until that 6th stack, but as he starts to take advantage of those, he's going to scale up very quickly, and we talk about how strong Kindred can be in the early to mid game if she gets rolling. Now, it's only a single assist there, but it is going to be pretty important as they move further on.
I thought we were going to see the Wolf steal that.
Yeah, there's a chance for that one.
That was very close. Power of Evil getting a couple of free attacks on the tower. We'll start whittling it down slowly, but close. Lane phase, after considering it was a 3-0 potential snowball, but TSM have done a good job of not falling quickly behind in this one. So as though does have a little support. Doesn't look like Amazing wants to try and look for that one. They're just going to get forced away.
Have to give some praise over to Hanser here overall because he has recouped a lot of the CS differential and has just been playing very passive, and it's a good look at this stage in the game, especially when he has an opponent who's 2 kills up. So recouping that CS, doing just fine in the lane phase here as he gets caught out at least a little bit.
There's a chance of a dive though. Soaz is 6 and Elise is nearby. Hanser does have flash and the ulti. They decide not to go for it. Soaz low enough to not make for this to happen. I wonder, okay. So if Amazing is here at all, it should be because they want to dive. Oh my God! CC!
Straight into an equalizer. That was a great cocoon, by the way.
Yeah.
Fantastic from Amazing. Quick reactions. As soon as that ward came down on him. And Soaz, so fast to react.
Excellent coordination there on that engagement, but I think Hanser just showing that he's still a little bit of a rookie in that exchange. There's no reason to risk going up for that ward.
Yeah, like the thing is, yeah, he could have gone with the minion line and let them kind of block any cocoons coming in for him, but of course also smart by Amazing, knowing, okay, I have to be here early to sneak into the brush before the lane resets to be there for the ward attempt. So Amazing, of course, still very, very sharp. Hanser, yeah, gets caught out by it.
Definitely not where they wanted to be. Hanser continuously being put in the ground. I mean, 2-0-2, never where you want a Rumble to be, and a haunting guys early on. Equalizer is already such an insanely strong skill. Getting early item power spikes like this is going to be devastating for TSM in fights.
Definitely is. I mean, you're already hitting haunting guys. Yeah, there's a lot of ability power, and the mid-game team fight power is super high for Origin. So Origin sending their support and jungler up into the top side of the jungle. These guys are absolutely in control always. They know Svenskeren up here getting the wards down and contesting this red buff as it respawned about 9.5 minutes in. Mithy making sure the wards are here, and amazing. They're going to have an easy time taking this over.
Soaz has shoved the top lane into the tower as well, so Hornzer, who was a little bit slower changing lanes, is going to miss out on that wave, it looks like. Meanwhile, the 280 carriers have got themselves back down the bottom. Fairly even build between them. Pink ward being picked up by Doublelift, but as you can see, this red buff, which was fought over so hard early on, is going to get stolen again once again by Amazing.
This is really solid by Origin. They're playing much faster than TSM is. They're basically playing about a minute into the future, right? Gank the bottom lane, swap back up, be ready to be topside in time for red buff, plus their AD carries on the right side of the map for Dragon. So many things are just happening first for Origin, and they're all paying out. This is like they pretty much never missed a beat from Worlds.
This is looking like a very solid start for them overall, and I like that they've not tried to pressure down these towers, and they've just opted to sort of extend this laning phase because it's working out very well for them. They have the dominant lane advantages. They can just let these AD carries farm, and in the meantime, once they get this Cassio just a little bit stronger, they'll be able to have an explosive team fight either on the Dragon Pit or on one of those towers.
3 stacks now for Svenskeren. Good of him to be able to get up there, and basically Amazing prioritized getting the blue buff for Power of Evil over trying to contest the mark that he would have seen on his own Raptor buff. So it allows Svenskeren to keep scaling up, but he's not been able to find too much so far in this game. It's TSM, honestly, at this point, having to scale up here. They've got really no power to play with right here. Even the bottom lane going to have a hard time winning any fights because of Braum able to put the shield up. He'll stop any Doublelift's damage, so and I think TSM have to wait.
When we talked about this team comp, it was all about the Renekton and the Kindred in the early game, and both these characters have been quite honestly shut down in this early game. 0-2-0, 0-1-1. Not terrible score lines, but definitely not where you want to be when all of your early game power is in these champions.
I would say a .33 KDA across your top two members is not exactly the best start to have.
I'm pretty bad at this game. I have some pretty low standards.
Quite rough. Only 2,600 gold. He's actually got less than everyone else that's not a support right now. Hanser is being deprived. Svenskeren smelling out a dive, but there isn't one, and I'm not sure if this gank will succeed. Gonna go for nothing at all. He could have sliced dice and looked for Soaz, but wouldn't have probably worked.
Yeah, and this is the problem. So, I mean, we were talking about Origin right at the start. Oh my god, look at the damage! Svenskeren has to use his ulti to try and save his life here. Now, Hanser's gonna join in, will get out alive, but already just forcing that. And well, just showing, you know, Soaz up to 4K. That's going to be a great start from Hornzer. Has he got enough to continue this on, though? I'm not sure he does. He will just step away in the end. While that was happening, Amazing was trying to set up some form of a counter gank onto Bjergsen in the mid lane. But that's a shockwave used. Okay, Bjergsen just pulling the trigger to just keep Power of Evil true. And he's going to keep that poke down. Those Twin Fangs doing a lot of damage on towards Bjergsen. And this has bought all the time they needed to start off the Dragon.
And I really like this decision coming in from OG. They know the Lamb's Respite is down. They don't have to worry about that overcomplicated team fight or playing around those Kindred abilities. They saw the pressure on the top side, and this is very much a well-earned objective on the side of Origin.
So far, early game lead paying out quite nicely. Next time I want to see maybe another turret dive or a turret take coming down. Mithy, after the Dragon, does roam up to the mid lane for this one, but with Svenskeren paying attention, it's honestly TSM, again, just playing as reactive as possible. Svenskeren's at least in the right place, the right time to keep these things from being pushed, but I think Origin still just, they can have control of the map. Once they get the wards back up, they can set up a tower dive, and any one of these winning lanes can do another kill and a turret picked up.
Definitely. Unfortunately, Svenskeren actually going to pick up the blue buff there, so definitely not where they want to be, as Orion is heavily reliant on it against Cassio. You saw Bjergsen running pretty consistently.
Yeah, that was a bit of a problem, and you know, we were talking yesterday off air about the Kindred, how sometimes you can get lucky, the little RNG that comes up with stacking out here. It's down deep in the walls right now. That's not where you want it in enemy territory right now, especially when they're already being so pressed.
Yeah, very interesting to see how it's worked out this game, of course. Overall, looking like, I mean, right now, OG just seem very content just to take small advantages where they can. They're not really pushing for anything greater, but once again, they are an almost entirely magic damage-based team comp with huge mid-game power spikes, so they're going to need to press an advantage shortly. TSM will eventually, I believe, outscale them as they push further in the game.
It makes an interesting situation, though. You talk about them being an all-magic damage team. Who's going to buy the Aegis here? Because Svenskeren's certainly not, and Kasing would have loved to buy Zeke's Harbinger for Doublelift here, and now Svenskeren,
Forced to use the flash there to get away. So as not going to go full tower dive here, but with Power Evo around, this is going to be very careful. They don't have a minion wave, so he can just get out of that one. So Power Evo wasting a bit of time there, but it was all being soaked up because Amazing just covered off the mid.
It's still going to mean turret pressure. They'll look at this turret down at half health already. Hanser and Svenskeren honestly could take a lot of damage if anything goes down. Meanwhile, bot lane a fight.
Neil's going to get jumped on, but he's got no support. You can see Doublelift was forced away from that one. Neil's, though, pressed and caught by those flame choppers, unable to really turn any of that damage back onto Doublelift, who managed to counter the aggression onto Mithy. So, nothing won and lost between the two.
Origin are bringing at least up to the top lane, though, but Bjergsen is ready to support this. It's going to be a 2 versus 3 in the top lane coming up soon.
Oh, teleport down the bottom. They're going to try and jump on towards Doublelift. Doublelift taking low. There's Kassin getting caught by Mithy, and in comes Soaz around the back. Equalizer completely whiffed, and is he going to have enough? He's going to dive on towards it. He doesn't have enough to take it, but Niels will. He hops in and hops out, takes the kill on Doublelift. Hit and run.
And despite the lackluster equalizer, just such excellent coordination on that TP. Hanser was so late to that engagement, absolutely uses it and will help him protect this tower, but gaining no other benefits from that. Ultimate burned as well. Really a little bit of sloppy coordination there from TSM.
And this surely is it going to be the turret. Neil's not going to stick around too aggressively, but that's a lot of damage onto Hanser. Kassin takes it low. Oh, he just gets dropped, and Niels is the man that gets the last hit. But that was Soaz that did all the damage.
This game is decaying rapidly for TSM right here. 16 minutes in, Origin already sizably ahead by a good 3,500 gold. Turrets are soon to fall, and they've already been stacking dragons. This is Origin, again, not really missing a beat, and TSM showing the fact that this team is only 4 days old.
Power of Evil getting pressured by Svenskeren and Bjergsen coming around the side. There's a lot of damage potential here. He could turn it around. He gets caught with the shockwave, but he doesn't get taken down because obviously the Kindred ulti was down there, counteracting. He does finally get dropped. I don't think Amazing can come out on top in this one. Where's he going to go? Oh, the Cocoon isn't enough to take the fangs. No, but now he's bought time. Mithy's going to chase on towards him, but he will not catch on towards Bjergsen. He finally comes out on top. A 2-for-1 trade there for TSM.
Bjergsen showing up huge in that engagement. The lamp just well placed by Svenskeren, well utilized. Power of Evil trying to flash back into it, trying to stay safe, but just does not have the sustain or the damage output to really make a huge impact there. Kasing, though, could be in trouble.
That was a flash engage from Niels, and he just wrecks straight onto Kasing. Not a chance there. Old European support, used to playing Niels as well, but I think he's quite used to being taken out that quickly. Doublelift in trouble here. The Flame Chompers will keep him alive for a short moment, but holy moly, Soaz has so much damage.
That's what 30 Magic Pen and a needlessly large rod is going to do for you there. Soaz has been absolutely massive this entire game. His kill participation nearly flawless as well. Anywhere Soaz goes, TSM will die, and Origin can continue to use him to get whatever objective they want.
They're going to try and catch on towards Hanser. I don't think Mithy's quite got it in him, and he's going to have to burn his ulti if he wants to try and keep Hanser safe here. Power of Evil just going to poke on down, does get the stun down on him. Is it going to be enough? There's the ulti, and they surely will lock down Hanser. And Power of Evil picks himself up another. This is starting to go very, very one-sided here for Origin. There's the top lane for Soaz as well.
And I was expecting OG to play explosively in the mid game, but I don't think anybody expected this. 10-3 now. They're absolutely dominating TSM, and they found their power spikes. They found their gold advantages via early pressure, surprisingly, and now they're just shoving it down the throat of TSM.
And I wonder how much more they can get before TSM find a way to stop all the bleeding here, because Doublelift needs a static shift for his wave to get any good. Hanser just needs real tank out of that he's not getting because he's 0-3 with pretty mediocre CS for this stage in the game. There's just the things that TSM needs to stop dying aren't here yet. And the question is, you know, how much more can Origin grab before those items do show up?
Yeah, and speaking of items, the big gold differential that you can see between Origin is sitting on Soaz and on Niels. So the AD carriers and the top lane, everything you need to just get this game rocking and rolling is working out for Origin. Oh, Doublelift. Is Soaz going to stick around? Is he going to go back? He will go back because that's 4 members of TSM pushing on towards the top lane. No, he's cancelled it. He's cancelled it. They're going to collapse. Look at the whole of Origin. Origin are all collapsing in towards TSM here. They have to back away. The equalizer completely whiffed though, but it's going to come around. And that's Doublelift just getting annihilated once again. And the rest of the team comes in. The shockwave catches nicely, but Power of Evil comes around the side. Svenskeren's going to keep himself alive for a brief moment, but that will be all. As soon as that Lance Respite runs out, it's going to be another kill for Soaz. And now Bjergsen being chased down. No mana to survive. Simply will get slowed down. There's the Twin Fangs doing the damage. Oh, the speed up just in time will keep Bjergsen alive. But that is really all they can get from that one. 13-3, massive kill count for Origin so far.
Nice attempt by TSM. They didn't realize the fact that Soaz was behind them because that was going to be an okay choice. This team doesn't have great engage from Origin. It's mostly counter-engage based, but when Soaz is behind you, he's countering your disengage essentially with the equalizer, so not much that they could have done. It is commendable that TSM are still trying to make high percentage offensive plays. A rumble sitting in a brush, low chance that happens. It's a forgivable mistake there, but this game is just breaking apart faster and faster and faster. And every time TSM does something, Origin's always there to stop it.
Sonya's and Leandri's now completed by
ridiculous
Soaz
how much gold
at
he
20
has.
minutes. He has so much damage in comparison to Haunts, who's just gone back and got his Merc Treads.
And looking at the bot lane too, I was critical of this team for being mostly magic damage and seeing that as a weakness, but when the AD carry is this strong as well, 3-0 and 2, ripping through towers left and right, it's not even relevant because you have all the AD damage you need in Niels at this stage of the game, static ship and IE completed.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, like, when you have an early game focused team, it's kind of okay to double down on that. It's hard to buy MR this early. Again, no one is here to buy an Aegis. You're seeing the beginning of it for Kasing, but they're already dying on top of it before you can even buy it.
Oh, and a nice little cross there. Is he going to get countered? Svenskeren comes in, tries to lay down the damage. It's Soaz they're going to focus on. Mythic going to back away to the turret. Now he's going to get headbutted away, but that shield will block everything. Oh, the rocket onto Soaz, but they just get out alive. And they will survive. They do manage to take the turret down. They're going to continue pressuring here. TSM could have been damaged, but they've got to be careful they don't lose a lot of objectives because mid lane's being pressed by Niels and bottom lane's being pushed by Power of Evil. So this might be a 1-for-2 trade in towers.
And you can see the double AD carry not able to do any more damage than they would have needed. So it's the Orianna holding the mid lane, but Power of Evil still pushing the bottom lane down. It actually will be a turret kill as well. So again, TSM can try, but when you send 4 people to one lane and you're behind, you should expect to get 1-3-1'd, and they in fact lose a better turret than TSM killed.
And it's unfortunate, but this is the stage of the game where TSM is at. I mean, this is where they're at, is that they have such a massive deficit that they just have to be willing to trade objectives. Now, you can't afford to trade tier 2s for tier 1s, but they have to be willing to trade a dragon for a tower, or, I mean, anything back and forth, because they can't win in a straight-up fight at any stage in this game.
Brutal exchanges so far. TSM being run ragged by Origin. And a 7,000 gold difference already built up. So far, we haven't really seen a great deal from Svenskeren on Kindred. He hasn't really had a chance. It was all about that 3 kills very early on at the red buff. It's definitely set the pace of this entire game. No doubt about that one. Soaz heading back, going to get himself yet more items. Sorcerer's Boots now completed as well. His damage is going to be off the chart, I feel, in the next engagement. And now you can see they're starting to ward out. Now, I don't think they're going to go for Baron this early, but they certainly need to get a little bit of coverage of it. Scuttle Crab being picked up. Now, I did catch it. Svenskeren has managed to get a couple more stacks on there. Where's he up to?
He's at 4 stacks on the Kindred passive. He actually went Warrior Enchant, though, for his jungle item, so he's not stacking Devour by any means.
And this was, of course, the standard over the course of the Kespa Cup to go with this Devourer, Blade of the Rune King as a second item. Not something we saw as much, but definitely going to be able to dish out a lot of damage. My biggest issue with this Kindred pick for TSM is that Svenskeren obviously adjusting to it as he plays it, but TSM as a whole is not comfortable. This is very much a team-oriented pick, similar to a Bard, similar to these large sort of team fight impacting champions, and you need to, the whole team needs to know how to play around it, how to play around the Lamb's Respite, how to utilize the Mark of the Kindred to secure early jungle objectives, and TSM are just using this like a standard jungler, and it's really not working out too well for them.
And he's not getting lucky either, because now he's got the Grump on his map. He's not been very lucky on this Kindred so far, yeah.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate here. So we'll see if TSM can manage to lick the runes any better, but it's a 7,000 gold lead. This is one of the biggest gold leads pretty much in competitive League of Legends at 23 minutes in. I mean, this is one of those massive leads that you don't see very often.
And it's clear that the mechanical skill here and small exchanges is there for TSM, but with this much gold deficit, they're just really suffering. And even in the early game,
That's a
nice
flash.
play.
Oh my word, he's going to get caught out. Lamb's Respite, well, he's going to buy him a little bit of time. Is it enough? Nice equalizer to just keep them zoned out. And Bjergsen even going to get burnt down as well. Soaz collects himself yet another kill. And it was a 2-for-0 exchange. Well, Honza looking to try and chase on this now. Now remember, they are pretty low on hit points. They're going to continue. They realize that Baron getting started off. This is risky play by Origin, but they feel they've got enough control with the jungler
there's
down.
like no
the
chance.
Hauntzer can't get in and get us to win.
I mean, like,
there's no
okay,
chance.
sorry. The
It
chance
happened. This
is like
happened.
less than 1%,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It's like, okay, technically, yes, in all situations, the power could go out in San Jose and we'd have to remake the game, but
Wow, that's the 1%.
yeah, thanks. We are the 1% power outage. Go. Yay, power crisis. But no, I mean, this is a very far out of hand game at this point. Origin have done such an amazing job of snowballing this.
And looking at this team fight, I mean, Svenskaren's going to use the Lamb's Respite here, but there's no hope once he tosses it down. At this, he's just delaying the inevitable, and he's really just buying time for the rest of his team to get out. However, an amazing Glacial Fisher, of course, will lock up Bjergsen, let them get this kill, and they know that with the sustain and the raw damage that Cassio can put out on the Baron, it's very easy for them to take that one down.
Yeah, I mean, whether Kind is doing well in this game or not, I mean, it's really the only respite that TSM is getting this game because Origin's certainly not letting up at all. So
They've been using that combo very nicely, the Glacial Fish and the Equalizer, just completely zoning out the team or basically just locking up the team. They're using it very well, pretty much making tram lines out of it.
And it's, we talked about this team comp being much better in terms of disengage, and normally Glacial Fisher suffers as an engage tool because it's such a slow-moving effect. But when you're this far ahead and you have such dominant ward control, you can set it up however you want because TSM has just been consistently walking into what is functionally enemy territory. It's not their jungle anymore.
And half of it's TSM going for fights in the first place, pushing turrets down, getting flanked anyway. It's like they're able to use TSM's sort of accepted aggression against them, which is really solid play by Origin here. And then you're right, sometimes they just have to go for a Cocoon Flash from over a wall, just, you know, at the river, and, well, it's enough to get 2 kills, let's go. And it's really commendable that Origin have found so many kills with sort of bad tools.
The biggest issue for TSM I see now is that Origin, and certainly the likes of SOAS, are very much known for sitting and waiting in a bush. And so they don't really have the ward coverage to push out, and they have to be fearful that this massively strong Rumble right now that could literally kill anyone on the map could be waiting in one of those bushes. And I just saw Bjergsen go down that bottom lane. He literally pushed one lane and was like, nope, not going any further. Can't risk it. Obviously, that's giving a free dragon across to Origin. Very well fought, and that's going to be the 3rd one.
Yeah.
TSM not even contesting. There's not even a chance to contest it. They would.
And that's the right
lose the
choice.
game. Yeah.
It's absolutely the right choice that TSM doesn't contest this. And the thing is, it's interesting the mind game here. Like if you're ever going to play sort of coordinated competitive League of Legends, like the winning team has a claim on Dragon. If they're winning by enough, the losing team can't even contest. Which then means, as a losing team, can I get a turret for Dragon? To which Origin have already thought ahead to say, well, they can't contest. Let's only put 2 guys on Dragon. Let's keep the rest of the lanes pushed, that there's nothing TSM can do, and then at the end of the day, there's nothing gained at all. And so there's no chance to trade a turret.
I just wish everyone in the game understood that.
Yeah, people don't.
Big engagement here. Origin going to pile it. Oh, SOAS just flashes through and just disperses of Bjergsen. Svenskaren's going to get dropped. Kasig's ultimate can't keep him alive through this amount of damage. And that was very easy pickings for Origin there. Nice engagement. And again, we saw the crisscross coming out with the Glacial Fisher and the Equalizer.
And that Lamb's Respite did more for Origin than it did for TSM. It healed up multiple members of the OG lineup, and it's absolutely not how you want to be using that skill, but I have to praise OG here as they're moving in to take down this inhibitor. SOAS and Mythi have been on fire. They've roamed into that mid lane. They got Power the advantage in his first game with this lineup, and then they've just been transitioning it across the map and continuing to find smaller advantages at first and then just snowballing them to be greater and greater as they've moved forward.
There is one thing I really hope happens here, that when this game ends, Niels gets exactly 2 more assists, that it can be 408 in his first game in San Jose. That would be, it's the area code here for those guys who are not locals. That would be, I think, the ultimate blessing here. If Niels can make that happen, that would be ideal. Either way, though, I mean, Origin are crushing this one. So many people said that Origin were coming into this tournament as the favorites. Right? LGD was like, maybe they can get redemption.
Yeah.
TSM, how good's the new lineup? Origin's like, got top 4 at Worlds and got a better mid laner. Like, these guys are absolutely amazing. You're seeing the results right here. As much as I can, you know, make my ironic TSM chants and say USA, Origin are crushing
it. surprises me to see an 806 SOAS, considering the amount of Overwatch he's been playing over the last few months. I can tell you, he's been losing to casters in our office. So we've come up against him and Mythi a couple of times. They're okay, but they should stick to League of Legends.
Well,
it's working out for them.
They're winning.
Yeah, I'd say. No reason to change games, man. Stick with leagues. You're where you belong. 8-0 and 6 Rumble with a death cap. That's,
gosh, it's ludicrous. And the thing is, in a lot of games, Void Staff would have been slightly better in this case, but who's got MR yet? It's a bunch of non-tanks and a barely completed
29
Aegis
minutes
here.
into the game.
Yeah, we finally
Right,
see the Aegis coming out, and it's 29 minutes, as you said. I mean, he needed the full. He needed much more magic resist across the team if he was going to be successful here.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this game had a triple kill at 3 minutes in, and then every single fight, SOAS was then turned into 2 more kills. And you know, if you go back and look at this game a little bit longer in TSM, it is a best of 3, of course, so TSM can go back and talk to their coaches, talk to their analysts, and say, what should we do differently? And it's, honestly, as much as I want to commend them for pushing these side lanes down and looking for turrets to kill, at the end of the day, they let themselves get into fights against a team that's not good at starting them. I mean, right? Origin's an early mid-game team without good engage, and TSM let themselves get engaged upon so many times that there were plays to be made.
Oh, they're going to try and make a play on towards Power of Evil. Haunter coming steaming in. Just managed to catch in. That's a nice little combo as well. Power of Evil.
Oh, no! Don't sing!
Puts him out. Oh, disaster. That should have been a kill, but now it might get turned around because SOAS is coming in and around the side here. A great equalizer could catch all of them in the line.
And Niels is pushing tops. There's even more happening. He's going to stop some of the walk backwards, stop some of the recalls, and Origin is buying time for the base to die.
SOAS is going to take him pretty low here, though. Double Lift and Bjergsen combined will get themselves a kill. There's a big shutdown bonus right there. And now they catch up towards Power of Evil. TSM turning this on their head. It's a double kill.
But Niels is still in the base.
Oh, no, they're losing the base. They've lost the Nexus to it. Niels is finally backing away. Now he's going to join the rest of his team. It is going to be amazing. They're getting kited around Mithy also. They've got to be careful. They've got to respect Niels' damage. He can just burst them down.
Zink can tank. It's okay.
Svenskeren going to lock on towards it. Double Lift on towards Amazing. Haunter can't quite get the stun, but Niels now may put the pressure back on towards them. It should be enough. This is a dangerous chase for TSM. They need to realize, remember, they've lost a lot of their base, and the death timers, they're coming up soon.
Oh, Svenskeren, good shield, but it's going to keep going in. Niels does go down. Amazing's gone too.
Baron is up in 3 seconds time, ladies and gentlemen. TSM can turn this game. They can run and get Baron now. It's spawned. They can go straight for it. They've got enough time, but there is super minions in the middle of their base.
And Svenskeren is dead. He was the guy that was going to ensure that Baron could have been killed. A Blade of the Ruin King, Kindred, would have made that happen. TSM may still go for that play, but I think it's too late now because Origin's respawning.
Oh, no. Equalizer available in, what, 10 seconds max for SOAS. That's a risky play. I think they've realized this is
it's up in 15.
Too close.
But SOAS solo can contest this Baron. And also he gets caught out here. He is playing very aggressive, but he just has to back off once he sees that they're not in the pit. But one equalizer at this stage of the game when he is so far ahead, you can rip through 3 people in an instant. Baron's more than happy to back you up if they decide to get aggressive and take that. And it's just not where you want to be when you're TSM.
At this point, he'll make TSM's health bars equalize 0. And it's just gonna, it's just not gonna be good. I've always tried to find good puns for equalize, and I could never get it because it looks like a division sign, like it's like a slash.
You still haven't.
Solid. I'll give you that one.
I miss Casimir.
My comeback game's actually not very good. Normally I don't Zyrene burns me sometimes, but no one else really
I've roofed with you quite a few times. And you just keep hitting me with those puns. Do you think this would be a good one? Do you think this would be a good one? It's like,
always no.
I need to counter this one. And, not to put a curse on TSM at all for the coming season, but they have picked up a trial British player, which, we don't generally do very good in esports. Their coach is also English as well, so they're not doing so great for themselves right now.
Stick to football, mate.
We're not even that good at that anymore, sadly. Anyway, the chase is on. The Baron's being picked up, and that was a quick one because TSM were caught a little bit napping, as were we, because we were focusing on other things, but Amazing's going to get focused out here. Haunter should get the lockup, and the rest of the team, are they going to be able to collapse it? Oh, it's not quite catching on towards him. Haunter going a little deep on that one. The rest of his team not quite on the same length. Look at Origin. They're just pushing straight up the mid. TSM have to react.
TSM have to get back, and thankfully for them, no one from Origin's playing recall.
SOAS is peeled. Look at SOAS. He's going across towards Double Lift. Double Lift is locked out of position here. But does SOAS realize it? That's the question. As soon as he appears behind the minions, now he does.
I think they're pretty safe, though. We have Origin playing a slightly slower game. Mid inhibitor's already back up, and instead of taking the really risky play and rushing it down, they're going to solo the Dragon for Power of Evil. They're going to let Amazing get back across the map. The thing is, Amazing was on the wrong side of the map, and it's just a slightly slower choice here. This is Dragon 4 for Origin, keep in mind. I think if it was 3, maybe they wouldn't have gone for it, but the fact that, even if all goes to crap, in 6 minutes they can just take Dragon 5 and like really close the game out that way. So honestly, all I can do is commend that Origin have made really good shot calls so far.
The
right?
coordination.
They lost Peke and it's still fine.
Yeah, the coordination from this team has been amazing. Once again, praise to the support and the top laner, Soaz and Mythi respectively, moving across the map, making plays happen, keeping their carries safe. And I mean, Soaz at this point is a carry in addition to helping keep his team safe. So doing a very good job, being very proactive on the map. And you know, TSM, we saw them win that fight earlier on. Potentially were able to contest Baron, decided not to pull the trigger on it. But because they don't find greater objectives, those little kill exchanges don't actually mean anything. Because when Origin finds a kill, they can take an inhibitor. They can potentially end the game.
They can finish the game, yeah.
They can get anything that they want when they find a kill. TSM, when they get a kill, just buys more time to scale. And when the enemy team is this far ahead, and especially against a Tristana and a Cassio, it's really not looking too favorable.
And we are only 33 minutes into this game. It's been a very quick sliding match for TSM, but they have proven, even though they're 13k behind, they can still catch Origin out. A little bit of overconfidence, I feel, in Origin's play starting to creep in.
Right, those are like the small anti-snowball mechanisms that are in League of Legends. Like the base gates let you come out for a flank and take like a shorter path out to a fight, right? Just sort of the way the map kind of condenses back in towards the base, the offensive team tends to be more spread out. And so these tools exist, and any time a team capitalizes on them, it's like, okay, good, you guys found a play. You didn't roll over, you found something to do. But the thing is, you need like these fights where you're gonna win 80% of the time to make up for the gold difference here. That a 3v2 is often lost because you're down 4 items anyway against the opponents here. So you know, by and large, I can't really like complain that Origin have given up a couple of deaths that like maybe weren't really required. They're pretty much always in the right place at the right time.
It's just been such a dominant game, and I think at this stage, Origin need to win a single team fight to end, whereas TSM are going to need to win probably 4 or 5 consecutively. Yeah, maybe even 7. I mean, a number that big, because we're not 40 or 50 minutes in. The gold difference is still very relevant. If they can push it late enough, you'll get to the point where everyone is 6 items and it comes down to team fighting, which, to be fair, I think is Origin will have the advantage because they've been together longer, but they can find an advantage if they push it that late. But even to just delay the game, they need to win fights. They need to take members down, because if OG just keeps playing slow and steady, they're going to find the win just in a matter of minutes.
Well, I can tell you they're a European team. They're very much prepared to play slow and steady. This is something we do often. Even, I mean, I've been out of it for a year, but there's not a lot changed in terms of slow and steady pace.
To be fair, 60% of TSM is European now. You know, I think that's why they had these 40-minute games at the very beginning when they played LGD yesterday. So, you know, it's like maybe they can just match the style. Maybe they can just like learn from the European greatness and understand. And really, you know, at this point, as like a North American League fan, I can just like wash my hands and be like, well, Europeans lost today. Let's go to the true North American Hope, CLG.
They're only trial members anyway. We didn't care.
Bench the Brits, you know.
But what do we make of Power of Evil so far? We haven't really had a good chance of obviously measuring him since he's moved into this team, because clearly it's been a bit of a Soaz show, effectively, from that top lane. But he seems to be coordinating well with his team.
It's fine. So like right now, like statistically, he has the least kill participation on the team. Some of that's Cassiopeia. It's a little bit hard to get into fights as her. The fact that she's like not an important part of the composition. Soaz got ahead, so he was the battering ram, and then Neil's the one knocking the turrets down. So like those are the ones always at the fights, and then like when they need power, they can get him. But it's not like he's killing Bjergsen in lane or anything. Actually, Bjergsen himself's like 3, 2, and 4, which is fine. But yeah, I mean, it won't look impressive, but because the game doesn't really call for power to do anything.
Yeah.
There's 1 or 2 moments that I have to praise him for. There was an excellent disengage earlier on where he did, I believe, flat or get knocked over the wall by Kissing. A little bit sloppy there, but he did hit a multi-man stun on the Petrifying Gaze. So clearly, I think still a very mechanically skilled player, but hasn't really been utilized too much by OG yet. Very much just an extra damage slot on this team among so many other damage slots at this stage of the game. And also, the team put a lot of resources into him early on by using the lane swap to gank that mid lane to put a lot of pressure onto Bjergsen, and we didn't really see a whole ton of pressure. Power of Evil was doing a very good job at stopping Bjergsen from looking for any potential roams, but I mean, it's not like we've seen any really greater play from him yet. He's filling a role right now, but it's a single game, and I think time will really tell if this guy's going to be on top. But it's not a bad game. It's not a bad performance by any means, but
he's just superfluous.
Yeah.
And moving across the other side, obviously this is the first Kindred we've seen in this tournament. Not the ideal start for Svenskeren, clearly, but how do we rate his play so far on this? I mean, obviously he's been pretty aggressive, but he's been running headlong into a very strong Soaz.
honest, you go
Yeah,
for it.
I mean, he just got absolutely crushed in the early game. So it's really hard to have a solid impression of the Kindred play overall. Clearly, he knows how to play very aggressively with it. He's been using the Wolf's Frenzy and the Dance of Arrows very well together.
Yeah.
The Lamb's Respite has been really sloppy across all of its uses in this game. I think it's had one good use, and it's when TSM were all going to stand in it to heal. Didn't get any value from the anti-death portion of the ability. So I'm not very impressed, and I'm starting to feel like TSM have not had enough practice with this pick.
I think in general, actually, Svenskeren as a player, when he was playing true tanks, it was fine. Like his Gragas game against LGD yesterday, he was 0-3-12, which is a size of like a solid game. But both this game and his prior release game yesterday, he was the death leader on the team. It seems like when he plays the slightly squishier champions like Runeglaive Elise or like with Kindred, it feels like he still thinks he's a tank, and he's still getting himself picked off a whole lot and being in place where he really shouldn't be. Like, he is ranged, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you ever have the highest deaths in your team as a ranged champion, like, you are terribly mispositioning, and you're greeting for fights I think you really shouldn't be going for. And I understand being the jungler, there's some extra emphasis kind of on you, but I just am not really pleased with Svenskeren in the mid to late game.
Well, I think we're going to get back into the game. I can see it's going, and so has already been chased. Looks like he will get out alive, though. Niels also had to use his rocket jump to escape TSM, but Dragon was picked up. That's the fourth one of the game for Origin. And thank you very much for bearing with us while a small momentary pause happened. Origin still 19-7 up against TSM in this first of the best of three.
And once again, for TSM, it's all about stalling out this game, buying as much time as possible. They cannot face down Origin in any kind of fight, but if they buy enough time, they may be able to in the future.
So this is something that Monty was talking about yesterday. Obviously, you can see that Origin, they are setting up to go for this last tower, but they've got a middle exposed inhibitor. Just go for that.
Yeah, I think it's a safe one to go for. You send Soaz to like slow push in the bottom lane. He's got teleport. He can join the main crew, but the main crew wants to knock down mid inhibitor, and they can end the game off 2 inhibs down. Like, that shouldn't be too difficult for these guys. Again, they can play slow. Dragon 5 is coming up in 5 minutes from now, but this should honestly, in most games, be a game-winning push for Origin.
And we saw TSM really struggle with the slow play, not warding their flanks, but that's not an issue that Origin have. You can see very diligent in setting up their vision control. They know where their vulnerabilities lie, and they're not going to leave them exposed. They start to push in here.
Soaz getting aggressive, but look at that damage on the tower. It's not going to last any second. There we go. Neil's obviously at max range.
Oh, so it's Hunter.
Oh my lord, he just absolutely wrecked Haunter there. Nowhere near tanky enough. I mean, he's just got simply a chain vest. That's not going to stop a very, very fed Niels. That's going to be inhibitor number 2. I tell a lie because the other one just respawned. Shockwave not going to catch them out there. And now they're all in trouble. Equalizer goes down. And simply put, that is the end of TSM. Origin looking to close this one out in style as they can try and pick up the ace, but it's not going to happen. Bjergsen won't let them. There goes the Nexus turret. The Nexus will fall, and Origin will take game 1 convincingly over TSM.
Very solid stuff here. A 35, 36-minute win. Origin picking up where they left off at Worlds. 2-0 TSM over in Group D there, and they really haven't let up. Origin.
Come on, Soaz.
Great
Smile,
game.
man. Smile. You just went 11-1-8 in that game. Put a big grin on your face.
This is 19 KDA Soaz. Just crushed it.
The big issue is that normally when games are that one-sided, we spend a little bit of time talking about what needs to change. And what needs to change is coordination from TSM. None of these picks really got an opportunity to be utilized because of how dominant OG were in a single early skirmish. If TSM had just opted to back out, that would have been a completely different game. But OG, very confident to just snowball there and continue to press their advantage. So coming in the next game, it's not going to be a matter of picks and bans. It's going to be a matter of rallying a young team together, which is very good, I would assume very difficult to do, especially when they've had so little time to play.
Yeah, I think what they could have really used there was just like a defining vision for how to play the game. Like, okay, an unfortunate sort of level 3 fight in the top jungle. You know, bringing your support up, I think, wasn't too greedy because it ended up in like a 3-on-3. Like, conceptually, this fight was probably okay for TSM. Okay, it went badly. Ouch, Origin got really far ahead. But from there, you kind of need the defining vision of like, look, guys, we have Jinx. And look, they have a really far ahead Rumble. We can't win any fight for the next 15 minutes. And probably just honestly not try. Like, unless they know they can trade turret for a Dragon, I think, in retrospect, even risking a turret push and risking getting caught was too big of a price to pay because we saw that almost every single time it got punished. And I think if TSM had a voice saying, look, roll over for 15 minutes, don't try anything, don't let them get you, this could have been a closer game.
Yeah, they tried it as well. You know, they tried that little gank on towards Soaz at the bottom. He just teleported away. So they knew it was a way of getting him, but just didn't work out. We also saw that Kindred, not 100% guaranteed win for sure. So we'll see how pick and bans work out. That is it for us for game one. We'll be back after the break, ladies and gentlemen, and see what the analysts had to say about it.